a benefit of this, especially as we're thinking about getting the most out of YNAB, is I think it really helps paint a picture of the life you want to live. When you put a target on everything, this is like, okay, this is my plan for my money. And then you can take a step back and actually think, well, do I like that plan? How do I feel about that? Is that what I want to put my money? Is there something more,
Right.
I want to put my money towards more, or something that I want to put a little less towards? Because we've heard stories, Ben, and I'm thinking of one YNAB win in particular where they set targets for like the life they want to live. Like, this is what I want. And then they realized, oh, I'm not making enough money to pull off this life. And it inspired them, I think, to have this assertive conversation with their employer. They got a raise.
Oh, yeah, that was a great story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How you make it, how you wanna make it, how you make it, how
You are not alone.
No, you are not. Well, today, Ernie, we are talking about getting the most out of YNAB. We're going to talk about not exactly features. Some of these are features, but it's just like little things, some big things, and some like really nerdy, detailed things that we want to talk about. We had a big, long list of topics, and Ernie and I got together right before we started recording. We're like, all right, let's pare this list down. And we couldn't pare it down, so we're just going to talk about all of it.
And I think that's going to make it more nerdy, because at first we were like, well, is this a nerdy enough episode? But like, it's totally going to be, because we have so many things we want to talk about, and I'm sure we're going to get lost in the weeds for a lot of them.
Yeah, so I think we should just jump right in, because we got a lot to go through. So scheduled transactions. Ernie, this is your thing. Way back in the day, I was never using scheduled transactions, and you got me to use them. And so I do use them now, but I don't think I use them to the extent that you do.
They are a fantastic way to level up your YNAB game. Now, if you just started YNAB, I wouldn't recommend setting up all of these. Maybe you set up, one or two, something like that. But, once you get going with YNAB, boy, the scheduled recurring transactions are a great way to eliminate second guessing.
Okay.
Because you're putting out there here are all my monthly bills, here are all my non-monthly bills and non-monthly expenses as well. Some of those that recur. It just gets them out of your head, out of your bank statement, out of your spreadsheet. You don't have to try to remember that stuff anymore. YNAB remembers it for you.
Yeah, what I like about it is what it does on the plan, because you can see, like, you can click into a category and see the available after upcoming. I think that's the term.
Yes.
Is really cool. I really like that. So I like it more, not so much for the transaction entry. I like it for how it affects things on the plan side, because I can see, oh, I'm going to be overspent in this category in a couple weeks if I don't do something, or I'm actually have too much in this category because I don't need as much, because the scheduled transactions tell me exactly how much is going to come out. So that's kind of fun.
And what I really love about the scheduled recurring transactions is, as soon as you open YNAB, those things fire. They go live in your register and then also in your category. So it's like, I just find myself being pleasantly surprised and reminded, oh, today's the day that I pay that every 3-month water bill. Like, it's on auto pay, but it's just like, hey, this is happening in the background. I don't have to do anything. There's peace of mind. I've got certainty around what's going on. It's just, I don't know. I think they are so slick, so helpful.
Yeah. I've started a workflow for my power bill, because it's different every month, right? And as soon as I get the email saying how much it's going to be, like, I get an email like a month ahead, and it's like, this is your bill, and it's due on this day. And it just comes out automatically. And so it says the day it's going to come due, and I'll enter it ahead of time. So it's not even like a recurring. It's just like scheduled ahead of time. And it's really nice, because I can see ahead of time how much the bill's going to be versus how much I've actually assigned in that category. So I could remove some money from that category if I want, and use it for something else. So that's kind of fun. But use it for the running balance thing too a lot, right?
Every
just
so
to figure
often.
out,
Yeah.
is that really just to figure out how much to keep in checking?
Yes, that's exactly what it is. It's cash flow purposes. If there's been a month where there's been a ton of credit card spending and maybe some bigger ticket items, I'm always like, because, I want to optimize the high yield savings interest rates right now. So I'm trying to, put as much there as I can. So, but if there's a big credit card bill coming out, I want to make sure I have enough cash to cover that, and then the subsequent expenses after. So,
yeah. Do you have any, because I have targets on every category, and we're going to talk about targets in a bit, but you could just have the scheduled transactions without the target. I feel like I'm kind of doubling up on some of these. You know what I mean?
You could if it's a monthly recurrence.
Yeah, right.
It gets a little muddy if it's like every 3 months because it doesn't have you
because
plan.
then it's going to ask you for the full amount that month
Yeah,
that it comes out. And yeah. That's something we talked about for a long time. Where it's like, what if you put in the target for 3 months from now and it actually created, or no, you put in the scheduled transaction for like 3 months from now and it actually like set it up so you're saving for that. But
right,
yeah, there'd have to be it'd be a bit of a UI challenge. They have to like figure out how to. I mean, our designers can do anything, but like they could figure out how to like help you make that choice. Because I think sometimes you don't want to do that, and sometimes you do. But that would be cool. That'd be a fun thing that could happen in the future.
Yeah, because for a while there, it was either target or scheduled transaction. I wasn't doing both. That just bothered me for some reason.
Right.
But now I'm doing both, and we'll get to this because I want to utilize cost to be me.
Well, it's funny. I feel like I shouldn't do both on some of them. Like there's one, I have my fixed bills category. It's been a while since we did a category episode. We might need to update that this year. And it's funny because I like list all the categories in the notes section of that category. My fixed bills is like just a conglomeration of any bill that's every month and doesn't change, right? And then so I have to like calculate it and then make a target for that amount. But I have all the scheduled transactions in there too, and the scheduled transactions would solve it. So
yeah.
I almost think I should just take the target off of that. But then I just feel the targets just make me feel a little secure, and it makes me anxious. So I don't know. Anyways, all right.
Well,
that's scheduled transactions, right?
No, a couple other things because
okay. Let's not leave.
I love scheduled transactions.
Okay, let's keep going.
I use this even for the ones that change. The amounts change, like credit card payments, water bills. And what I do, similar to your workflow, as soon as I get that bill via email, I just copy and paste the amount into the next scheduled transaction. So there is some manual upkeep.
Do you have like a blank scheduled transaction
Nope.
and then you like replace it? Okay,
it's just
so
the
you create a new
amount.
one.
Yep.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
I just replaced the original amount.
Okay.
And
That's cool.
I mean, it takes like 30 seconds, and it's just it's built
Well,
into my
you're gonna enter it
routine.
anyway.
I love it.
Right.
But
The only thing that bothers me is like, like some bills, like they come out on the, like you set the scheduled transaction, say like, oh, this bill's coming out the 4th every month. But like sometimes it comes out on like the 7th or the 8th.
Yeah.
And like, it bothers me that it's in there and I'm like, well, it's going to happen, but it's there now. And it's like, not, I obsess over this too much clearly, but that's one thing that's one beef I have with scheduled transactions.
Well,
there's no solution. There really isn't.
We have that enter now button.
Right.
So if it is coming out early, it's scheduled on a Sunday.
More it's for when it comes out late. That's what bothers me. Because there's like a pending transaction sitting there and I'm like, I know it's not really there, but like it doesn't matter.
Yeah. No, it doesn't matter.
I'm like, it bothers me though. But
and something else YNABers use scheduled transactions for, and I don't do this, but I think it's a great idea, is just general reminders. Like, I signed up for this free 30-day trial. Make sure you cancel the day before.
Okay. I like that. Yeah. So if the bill for that trial is coming out on like the 30th, for example, maybe put the scheduled transaction in for like the 25th or something. So it reminds you. So you can be like, well, do I want to pay this or do I want to go in and cancel it? Yeah. I like that.
Okay.
That's fun.
I think I've said all I need to say about scheduled transactions. I do love them. Let's move on to another one of our shared favorites for getting the most out of YNAB, entering transactions yourself. Now, my goodness, why are we talking about this, Ben? Again, Ben. We've talked about it so much.
I think we've done a whole episode about this, probably.
Yeah, probably.
It's just the best. It's great for awareness. Now, your electric bill, well, I guess the electric bill, I've already told you, I do enter that myself as a scheduled transaction. But for like things like that, where it's just a recurring bill, how much it's going to be, like, I usually don't worry about entering that myself. But for groceries and dining out, those discretionary things, it's really great for awareness to just pull out your phone as soon as you spend the money, enter it, see how it impacts your category, because especially on the mobile app there's like a little animation that plays and shows you how it changed, which is just chef's kiss. I love it. And it kind of just makes you more aware of what's going on in your plan, and you don't have to you kind of internalize it, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. And it doesn't take that much time. It's a couple seconds, and it's not that many transactions either. At least
it really isn't.
The way I've with my workflow, it's like 1 or 2 a day, because The bills, the recurring stuff, that's scheduled transactions. I'm not actually entering that anymore. I've already done the heavy lifting to enter those. And maybe I do a little bit of lifting to update them, but that's not much. And then, so then it is just basically the spending on the go. Like you said, the groceries, the eating out, the gas, things like that. It's 1 or 2 transactions a day. And it just increases my awareness so much more.
Yeah, it also helps with, you're just more up to date, especially if you're a little tighter, if like things are closer to the edge for you. Waiting for the import can sometimes take a couple days because it just depends on how long it takes to clear your bank, right?
Yep.
And it's a good idea to just enter that so your categories are accurate, so you're making accurate decisions. And I think that's just a practical benefit of just entering things yourself. I enter all the pending transactions every day when I reconcile, because I like do the reconciliation with the cleared balance. And then I look at the pending transactions in my bank and I enter all the pending ones. So like, it's kind of a game I play with myself. When things import, I want everything to match up, you know?
Yep.
And like when I have a couple that aren't matching up, I'm like, oh, I missed it, you know? But like, it's not a big deal, but it's just kind of fun. It's very satisfying. I think that's part of it too. It's just satisfying. This is just pure nerdiness to have this just kind of satisfying process of entering things yourself while still using the import. That's what I recommend most folks do. If you're comfortable with importing transactions, you can enter it yourself and import, so long as the amount is the same, it'll match up, and you won't have any duplicates or anything. You don't have to worry about that. And it's slick, it's fun, it's satisfying, you know?
Yeah, it is slick, it's fun, it's satisfying, but also it's very practical. Now, you don't always have to enter yourself, but you know, if you're at that point where you're like, man, I want to get more out of YNAB, or I want to start reaching maybe some of these financial goals a little bit faster. Like I want to, I don't know, I want to pay more attention. If you're looking to make a change, just try entering yourself and see if that helps create that change in your life.
Yeah, it's really good. I want to mention tips too. For some reason we do this in the US. I think some other countries might do it this way too, where like you go to a restaurant where you're sitting down, you have a wait staff and you pay for the food, and then like they run the card for the food, and then you guys know, I don't know why I'm explaining this so much. You know how it goes, right? You pay for you get the pending charge, which doesn't include the tip. Okay. So I'm trying to like over explain this. You know what I mean? And if you enter the transaction yourself, just enter the full amount with a tip, and then later it imports and it clears. For a long time, I would do this whole song and dance. And I think this was because I didn't totally understand how reconciling worked. When I was in the YNAB 4 days, I would be like reconciling on the pending balance, and it was all a mess. But I would do this whole song and dance where I would enter it, and then I would go back and change it. And this was before importing was a thing. And so it was just like this whole thing. And I finally realized, like, if I just enter the full amount, then it's done. And when it imports, it imports the full amount and it matches up, and it's awesome. But if you don't enter it yourself right at the point of sale, like right when you do it, then you never remember what the tip amount is, and it's just it's annoying. And you know, I know it's not that big a deal, like we're talking about a little bit, but like it's just I think it actually saves you time if you just enter it yourself.
Absolutely.
All right, targets.
Yeah, let's move on to number 3. Targets.
All right. Well, yeah. I mean, this is. I feel like this is a little basic. I don't know. We're starting with some of the basic ones. Don't worry, guys. We're gonna get real nerdy. But yeah, let's talk about targets. There's a few schools of thought here. So a target, just if you don't know, is just a plan for how you're going to assign your money. So you set a target on groceries for $800 a month. That's how much I want to set aside here. You can also do all sorts of math where you're like, hey, I want to spend $1,200 over the course of the year, and YNAB will help you set aside $100 a month, right? And it's just the way I think of it is, if we're doing envelope budgeting here, right? It's like a target is like writing down the amount on the front of the envelope, right? You're not actually putting money into the envelope. You're just writing down how much you plan to put into the envelope, right? And that's what a target is. Yeah.
And I don't know. I've been using YNAB 13 years. I still think this is a super nerdy topic, and I love talking about it because it still, after all these years, makes the assigning so much easier. Like, I don't have to remember how much I want to put in auto maintenance every month or how much I set aside for groceries. The target tells me that. And then all I have to do is think through, well, is this actually how much I want to put towards that thing this month? Because, the target, that's just my goal, like my idea, my plan. It's not the number that I live by. So
Okay. Yeah.
I'm okay with putting more in or putting less, even if that means having yellow.
Okay.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Mine are a little more dialed in where it's like I just put in the same amount every month, but not always. I wanted to talk about no date targets. It's like the have a balance of X amount target. And the way to get there, and we're going to show you a screen recording if you want to see it. But yeah, you go to target, go to custom, and then where it says I want to, just set it to have a balance of whatever amount you put in there. And then where it says due by date, just don't put a date on there. Okay. And what I love about this target is it's just a way to note how much you want to have in there eventually. In fact, it literally says on the progress bar, it says have this amount eventually. And I just like how open-ended it is. You know what I mean? And it's great for things where it's not like something you're spending from every month. It's like a goal that you're going after, but you don't have a specific amount that you're setting aside. YNAB will not prompt you to set any certain amount aside, but it will track your progress. So you can literally see in the progress bar, it's moving up. You can see in the percentages, it's moving up. And anytime you set money aside there, it just kind of shows your progress toward it. And it's just a way to note how much you want in that category, because it can be easy to forget. Like I'm looking right now at a beach vacation. We're going to Outer Banks next, like in a few weeks. That's fully funded now, but for a while, that just sat there with a have a balance target, no date on it. And whenever we had a meeting, we were planning our spending, we put a little money there, and I could just see the progress. And so it's nice. It's like no pressure. You know, you don't have to put a certain amount in there, but you can track the progress. And I don't think enough people know about it, so I wanted to mention it.
Yeah, and when you're talking about no prompt, no pressure, it's no yellow, right? You don't get that feedback in the category, which it drives a lot of folks crazy. Totally get it. But yeah, I love the no date as well, because when I use it, it's for the stuff that is outside of my monthly plan. You know, like Christy and I won't have enough money from our paychecks to cover that. So we use the windfalls, the third paychecks, bonuses, stuff like that, tax refunds. That's when we will put money in those categories.
Exactly the same for me. It's just fun. It's nice. And I always forget, how much I wanted to set. Like I'll like plan a vacation. I'll make like a spreadsheet and I'll be like, okay, well, how much do I need there? Okay, we need this. Okay, this is a big amount. And if I don't write it down, I won't remember. So I just put it in YNAB, and I trust that I did it. I did the work. Sometimes I'll put a link to the spreadsheet in the notes, so I can always look back. It's just always kind of fun. But yeah, but there's always a debate. Do you put a target on every category, or do you like follow that target exactly? You're more no, right? You don't have targets on every category, right, Ernie?
No, now I do, and we'll get to this.
Oh, that's right. You went back
because
you're just changing things all the time, Ernie. I'm like, for me, I'm like everything's the same.
I'm embracing that experimental mentality.
Well, that's what I preach, but don't do. So. I love it. Yeah, I think it's great. Yeah. Okay. So you are doing targets on every category, and you're a little more rigid now.
Yeah. Well, not rigid.
You're not rigid though.
Not rigid in the assigning.
Okay.
Just in that general idea of here's the initial thing I think I want to do with my money once it comes.
Yeah. This wasn't in our notes, but I think we should talk about cost to be me now. What do you think, Ernie?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Okay. Yeah.
It flows nicely.
Yeah, I think it just makes sense. So there's a lot of features that rely on targets too. So I think if you set targets, especially if you set targets on every category, it kind of unlocks other features. The month ahead feature is one of those where you can actually track progress toward getting a month ahead, relies on targets. And cost to be me, which is another really cool feature, relies on targets as well.
Yeah, it's adding up all those monthly amounts and telling you, all right, here's how much you need to be you each and every single month. So it gives you that concrete number. Now, this is something that YNABers have been doing for a really long time.
Yes.
Now, back when we started, and I don't remember this, I'm just trusting you on it, but there weren't targets. Like,
no,
I don't.
And YNAB, back in YNAB 4 days, or even before, obviously before that, no targets. No, that was not a thing.
Yeah, I don't really remember that. But once the targets were introduced, I was like, oh my goodness, I love these. And I put targets on everything, but there was no good way to add up all of those monthly amounts. So I would then have a spreadsheet with my categories
me too.
and the monthly amounts. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, because you could look at underfunded, but it might change because depending on how much you assigned, you know. So, I mean, there's a way to do it, kind of, but it's not. But also, it's not quite the same number because it's calculated slightly differently, right?
Yeah. Could you always do underfunded? Has that always been a thing?
Actually, I'm not sure how long that option has been there. It might not have been there from the beginning of the new YNAB, as we say. I'm not sure, actually. Yeah, that's a good question.
Well, that really doesn't matter, but so I would set up those targets. I make sure that the Excel amount, the spreadsheet amount, matched exactly to my income, and then I would enter those as the monthly target amounts in YNAB.
Yeah.
And as time went on, eventually I ditched that spreadsheet and I did everything in YNAB. But still, to figure out, to look at that number, it took a little finagling because you would have to find a month where you didn't have anything assigned.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it wasn't always accurate because on some of those, they were time sensitive. So like YNAB would increase the amounts.
Right. And exactly. And you'd have to be a pretty savvy YNAB user to even figure that out. Like most people aren't going to be able to see that. This is like in your face, a very clear feature. Hey, here's where you plan all your targets.
Yes.
And for the first time ever, YNAB asked you what your income was, which you've never done before. And you can actually compare it to your income. I've heard lots of stories in the community of people like having their eyes open, like, oh, my targets are like way over my income or even way under sometimes.
Which is fine.
That's fine.
It doesn't have to, because that's not actually the money you're assigning, but you're just not going to be able to put money towards everything.
Yeah, it's really funny. Like, I think we've been hesitant to ask what your income is for a long time because of that F word, forecasting, right? Right. Because YNAB, we are not a forecasting system. We are an allocation system. We set only the money aside that we have right now. We only allocate that money. And so, because most other systems, that's the first thing they ask you, like, how much is your income?
Right.
And we didn't want to do that because we didn't want to signal that. But it's really helpful because, like you said, YNABers have been doing this anyway in another spreadsheet. So really what this does is it takes the need for the spreadsheet, just brings it into YNAB. You can actually compare your income and your targets as much as you want. And you're not actually doing any forecasting you're not basing your actual assigning on your income. You're just basing it on what you actually have right now, and you can still do the same thing. And I think it's just lovely. I think it's wonderful. Good step.
Yeah, and it's a really nice reality check. That's the way I describe it. But something else, a benefit of this, especially as we're thinking about getting the most out of YNAB, is I think it really helps paint a picture of the life you want to live. When you put a target on everything, this is like, okay, this is my plan for my money. And then you can take a step back and actually think, well, do I like that plan? How do I feel about that? Is that what I want to put my money? Is there something more, I want to put my money towards more, or something that I want to put a little less towards? Because we've heard stories, Ben, and I'm thinking of one YNAB win in particular where they set targets for like the life they want to live. Like, this is what I want. And then they realized, oh, I'm not making enough money to pull off this life. And it inspired them, I think, to have this assertive conversation with their employer. They got a raise.
Oh, yeah, that was a great story.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was one person who created like a separate plan and set targets for the life they really wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they were like, I asked for their employer for that amount, and they pushed for it, and they got it. I mean, it was so cool. Yeah, because you can do more experimentation with it too. And I think because it's in a separate place, and you can see how it compares to your income a lot more clearly. First, for newer folks, it's going to signal like, hey, this is a practice that you can do. And you don't have to do all these workarounds to make it happen or open up another spreadsheet or anything. And then second, it allows for more experimentation, which is great.
All right. Whew. Targets. Love them. All right. Should we move on?
Targets costing me. Yeah, let's move on. Let's talk about templates. This is newer. I mean, like last October, I feel like we started talking about templates.
Something like that, where you can actually now import templates into your actual YNAB plan.
Yeah, these
Because
are categories and targets, and like there's notes in there sometimes with details how we came up with those numbers. It's pretty great.
because we learned YNABers love their categories. They love talking about them. They love seeing what other people do for their category and group structure, and they like changing up their own from time to time. And this gives them some ideas.
Yeah. So it's a separate site. So you go to ynab.com/templates, and we have a bunch there. So some of them are like for people starting out, like, hey, here's a category structure that you can use. But some of them are like, hey, I have something that came up in my life, like I'm going on a trip, or there's a new baby category or a new baby template. There's a new puppy template, and it can be a huge cognitive load. Like if you're getting a new puppy, there are so many things that you would never think about. So we've thought about it, and we've set categories for all those. You can just bring those into YNAB and actually start setting money aside for it. There's even targets set for like some average amounts. Now, it's not going to be accurate to you because you are you and you have different priorities and you live in a different, this is like an average idea, but you might live in a low or a high cost of living area, but it gets you, it's a good starting place.
Good ballpark number.
Yeah. And that's the point of it. So like, don't take those numbers just wholesale. But it gets you a good starting place, and you can bring them into YNAB and like not have to worry about it. So if you got like a life change coming up like that, like a new puppy or recently graduated, I'm looking at them right now, a wedding. Hey, these are all awesome things. You can bring it right into your actual plan and start using it.
Yep. I'm looking at the YNABer beginner template, variable income, rock retirement club. For the folks that are, they're in retirement or about to enter retirement, what does that look like? There's the Nick True's. I know Nick True is loved in the YNAB community. There's his starter template. There's his values-based template.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's more. I mean, like I there's a lot of folks in our community that have thought really hard about this, and if you're interested, I know you're running these templates, Ernie, so I hope you don't mind me saying this, but if you're interested in sharing something, let us know. We can talk. But there's all sorts of really cool things in here.
Yeah, and just to speak to that a little bit more, that's what I love about the templates. It's not just some like marketing ploy that we came up with. Like these are real YNABers. A lot of them work here who are like, hey, I think that I just went through this myself. Right. I think this would benefit the community. So let's build a template around it. I love that. Yeah,
there's going to be things in there that you haven't thought about. There's even a minimalist template, which is like 6 categories, and like that's it, right? Which I'm thinking about. Ernie and I are thinking about doing a whole episode about this and maybe like experimenting. That's what I'm leaning toward, is trying a minimalist. I don't think I can live on that. I think I'm going to have to run this separately. Like have 2 plans going, but I'm really curious to see like what it would feel like. I just don't know if I could like totally go for it and actually run it, but we'll see.
That is like a Jesse level experiment.
I know. I don't know if I can go that far. I feel like it might ruin my life. Like, yeah, but Jesse did that. Yeah, he did that one for a whole year. He was like,
he had like 4 categories.
He basically called it a year like where he didn't YNAB because he had like literally 4 categories. Yep. Yeah, which he's YNABing, and you can totally do that. But I was just talking to a friend last night who doesn't use YNAB, but he uses a spreadsheet, and he's wanted like a gut check on some things, and that's what he does. He has like 10 categories total, like all his like regular bills, but his typical spending is just in 4 categories, and it works for him. So I think you can definitely do it this way in YNAB if you want. But yeah, anyways, these are huge conversation starters, as we can do. I think we'll do a whole another episode about it eventually.
Yeah, and they're a great way to get more out of YNAB, enhance your categories a little bit more. So we'll put that link in the show description if you want to go to that. Okay, the final shared favorite for us here, Ben. This was a little weird. I'm surprised that we both mentioned it.
I think this is a good transition into the true nerdiness, I think.
Selected totals.
Yes.
Why did you put that on?
I think this wasn't always a thing, as I recall. I think this was added later. So you can select any number of transactions and just get a total. It's kind of a way to run like a quick report almost, or a quick it's just like a quick way to reflect on something. And that's the way I use it. So I use a combination of searching categories or memos or payees, and then just select it and you just get a total, right? I don't know. I just really like it. I don't know why. I think it's really, really useful. We talk a little bit about this a lot. Where YNAB is a way to plan your life. It's a way to plan your spending, but it's also just a way to have a record of your life.
Yes.
It's like a system of record, right? All the time, I'm like, how much did I spend on that that restaurant I went to 8 months ago, right? I can look at it, right? I can look anything up. So like using the search combined with selected total, it's just kind of a way to like actually use all this data in a really quick and slick way, I think.
That's the reason I put it on my list. I like using that data in the moment. It's just for, this was interesting. Here's an example. Maybe I'll give you a couple of them, but the one that stands out is eating out every week. So we give ourselves X amount of dollars to eat out as a family every week. It's every Friday. And, it's a certain amount. I think it's like $75 every Friday. So it's a weekly target. But I've got 3 teenagers and they all have jobs. So a lot of Fridays they're working. And what we've decided is, okay, we'll pick up food for you after your shift and we'll pay for it. That's like our eating out as a family. Like there's like, sometimes there's 4 different charges through that category on a Friday night. And I will go in on the mobile app, selected totals, take those 4 transactions and just, okay, how much should we spend this Friday? Just ballpark, just so I can see, is it above or below that 75 weekly amount? And again, I don't do anything after that. It's just interesting in the moment.
Right.
And then I've used it for, tax season coming up. Okay, how much should we spend on medical, donations, things like that?
Okay. Yeah. I use it I feel like so much of my nerdiness, I talk about my poker night. It just comes up constantly. But like I use it for that. Like I'll have a friend, because I enter every transaction. So like when people come, they give me money, I give them chips. And then when they leave, they give me the chips back and I give them money. Right. So I have every single transaction and I have Jordan's buy-in in the memo for this transaction and Jordan cash out in the memo, right? And so they'll ask me like, how am I doing? Like, how much money have I? Because they're not tracking like me, they're not nerdy. They're like, how much, like how much have I made playing poker at your house for the past 6 months? And I can do a search Jordan poker category and pull it up and select them all, and I get a total. I'm like, you made $100, or you lost $100, whatever it is. That's kind of fun. Yeah, that's one way I use it a lot.
And it's so nice because I think other YNABers, especially the budget nerds, they would say the same thing where they were already doing this. They were just using a calculator outside of YNAB. But now it can all be done in YNAB, so it's so simple. Yeah,
it's kind of like, of course we have this as a feature, and it's not even something that you think of it. Like I don't think you even think of it as a feature, but it's just cool. It's really powerful.
Yeah.
Okay, we transitioned to nerdiness, so now we're going to go over Ernie's favorites from our list, and then we're gonna go over my favorites, and I think we're gonna get even more in the weeds here.
Before we get into that, just want to say to any new YNABer out there, maybe you've been listening to Ben and I talk and you're like, hey, I want to check this out. Well, now is your time. We have a free 34-day trial and you can sign up really easy with the link that we put in the description. It's just ynab.com/nerds.
All right. Ernie, what's your favorites?
Auto assign. I love those auto assign options. So we've talked about underfunded. You can select categories, hit that underfunded button, YNAB assigns them. You can also assign by what you assigned last month. So maybe for the folks who don't use targets or have targets on everything, it's a really easy way to assign money to the plan. And that's the purpose of these auto assign buttons, is make the assigning process so much easier. Yeah. You can assign based on your average spending.
Okay.
You can assign based on your average assignments.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah.
Who does that?
I'm looking through it. I don't think I've ever used average assigned. I don't know why. Why not? I guess because if you're going to use average assigned, you're probably more likely to use average spent. But if you do that, let us know. You used average spent for a while for some of your categories without a target, right?
Oh, absolutely. For electric, because it's so variable here in Wisconsin, groceries, gas. Just tell me what I've been assigning for the past 12 months.
Yeah.
That's
really
better
powerful.
than any educated guess I could make.
Though that's another thing too. All of these numbers in auto assign are anything that's an average is a 12-month rolling average. That's how it's calculated. So it's a little different than you might look in the reflect tab. It's specifically that. So I think it's sometimes the average is a little more relevant if you're only looking at the last 12 months. I think that's helpful. And then they also kind of act as like a mini report too. If you just want to see real quick at a glance, hey, what's the 12-month rolling average on this category? You can see it right there. I remember we made a change to the mobile app, and we missed this. We missed this. We didn't. I guess we didn't see it in beta, where we removed. I don't remember exactly what it was, but the design removed those numbers from auto sign on mobile a little bit, and a lot because that's what it was. We were like seeing, people aren't really using these particular auto sign options. So
like they're not tapping them.
They're not tapping it because we can see usage. Like we can see are these features being used? There's no it's not, we don't know, I can't be like, oh, Ernie's using this feature, right? but we can be like, generally in the whole population of YNABers, are these features being used? So it was really interesting because people weren't using auto assign on mobile, and so we removed some of the options to streamline some things. And then everybody was like, I need those numbers, because even though they weren't using it, they were using it as a report. They were looking at the numbers, so we brought it back because of that feedback. And that was really interesting to me, because people use this as a report as well as a way to quickly assign money, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, and for me, I use it a lot. I'm not tapping it, but I'm looking at that amount and I'm comparing it to my target amount. And
yeah.
It's that reality check. Oh, I've been under assigning groceries for a long time. Let's actually change that target and make it more realistic.
Yeah, and I have a dream that maybe one day we'll have a separate reflection in the reflect tab, like target versus average spent. Just put them next to each other and look at the difference. Or maybe like a percentage difference or something like that. That'd be really cool. But yeah, for now, it's just kind of a way to see it. I'll look at, let me look at my, I have 2 restaurant categories right now, and the target for both of them is $330, and the average spent is $426, right?
Okay.
So I can look at that and be like, oh my gosh, yeah, I probably should admit the target is not matching the average spent. But I'm also a little hesitant to change that target because I kind of want to deal with the overspending when it happens. I fear that if I change the target and set more aside, I would just end up overspending $100 more than that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I get it. Yeah.
So I haven't changed that, but that's an example, right? You can actually just kind of get a vibe check. Is this target right there? But you can also look at the reflect tab and see all these numbers and see trends and all sorts of more goodies. But this is just a quick way to get that report.
Yeah. All right. Another one of my favorites for getting the most out of YNAB, transaction tracking. And there's 2 things here: using memos. So just recording a little bit more information, giving a little bit more context about that transaction, and then using flags.
Yeah,
it's just been real. Well, flags are nice to go backwards and look at stuff like donations, medical expenses, reimbursements. I use them a lot for reimbursements just to make sure I get that money back. Actually, so flags are practical in that way, but memos are fun. Go back and look through some things and be like, oh, that's the type of premium grass seed that I bought, something like that.
Yeah, this is like the system of record thing I was talking about, where it's like you need to look back at past stuff just to get the information. And if you don't put the information in the memo, it's gone forever. Once it's out of your brain, it's gone forever. So if you enter it in there, you can kind of get a vibe for, sometimes I'll put like confirmation numbers in there. You know what I mean? Stuff like that, where it's just like, I need to keep track of this stuff. YNAB, I know, is a place that I'm going to look at every day. And so if I put it there, my brain can forget it, because it's in there. I don't have to worry about it. I use flags a couple different ways. I use them for reimbursements. So like when we were at FanFest in San Diego recently, YNAB was going to reimburse my spending for food and stuff and Ubers and all that. And so anytime I would enter a transaction, I would just flag it with a certain flag. So I could just go through, and when it's time to make my little expense report, I had it all for me, right? It's kind of like a meta bit of information that isn't captured in the category or the amount or the payee, right? But here's another way I use it. I have a Venmo flag. Again, I'm going to bring up my poker night. Okay. Because, can I get nerdy in the weeds here for a second? Do you mind?
Of course.
So, this is a funny thing about Venmo. So when I do my poker night, I take cash. I have like a little cash box. I make some change. And again, guys, I just want to stress, this is not a lot of money. Like we're 25 cents is the blinds. Okay. So it's not like it's a ton of money, but it's, we're having fun with it. And, so I have a cash box. I take Cash App, and then I take a Venmo for my friends. Now, the way Venmo works is it holds all the money, and then you have to like literally go in and click a button to send it to your bank, right? Cash App, the transactions just kind of flow through like as if you're just like using a debit card, right? So I have this problem where, because I enter all of it myself, right? And I have this problem where I have like 10 Venmo transactions in YNAB because I want the specific record. I put in the memo who it was, and was it cash out, cash buy in, right? But I'm only going to get one Venmo transaction importing into YNAB. Right?
Yep.
So if it's a Venmo transaction, when I enter it, I flag it Venmo, and it's just so elegant because what happens is the Venmo transaction comes in, and then I do the selected total. Again, I select all the Venmo transactions, see that it matches that one Venmo transaction that comes in. I clear them all, and then I delete the imported one, and it's just like perfect. It's so great. So it's very satisfying for me. So that's one way I use flags.
Such a budget nerd. Here's a memo story. Since you're getting the weeds about your poker and kind of showing that personal side, this is just a weird part for me. So I use memos to hold off potential legal disputes.
Oh, okay. Oh, tell me more.
So I pay for a lot of my boys' stuff with the credit card. It's like they need to reimburse me. And what I do is I sign into their bank accounts every Friday, and I send money from their account to mine. Okay. Because they're not going to do it. So
you need to be able to prove you're not just stealing money.
So seriously, every Friday I'm like, oh my goodness, someone at the bank is looking at this activity and they're like, this kid just sends all his money to this guy, Ernie.
So you're not worried about like proving it to your boys. You're worried about like proving it to
right, like
somebody who's like, what's some fishy's going on here?
So like in the memo from the bank transfer, I'll put like food, Apple Music, Fortnite. And then in the corresponding YNAB transaction, I'll put the same thing in my memo so I can prove that, this isn't me just siphoning money off my teenagers.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you joke, but okay, that's never going to happen. Like nobody at the bank is going to care. Right. But it gives you peace of mind. But this is a thing. Like there's, if you get like audited or there's some reason why an outside party is scrutinizing what you're doing, you got a record of all of it, right?
Yeah.
Flags can be really helpful, and if you put some details in the memo, that can be really helpful. And it's just kind of proven, like you ever like see like a I don't know, like there's like a government somebody's like going to the Supreme Court and they're like, show us your calendar, like where were you on this day, and like and stuff like that, like you got that. So if you're ever appointed to the Supreme Court,
I'm
you
covered.
Got all this information. Yeah, so flags can help with that.
All right, another one of my favorites, manage payees. This is super nerdy. I love clean and tidy payees. I hate having you go to the gas station, big in the Midwest is Quick Trip, and you've got Quick Trip 15, Quick Trip 33, all these
Some
different.
of you guys are just leaving all these nasty, ugly payees. I cannot handle it. And I think we've done some work to, we have a large language model actually that I think it's like 1 million payees are in there, and it maps it pretty well. Sometimes there's very funny mistakes I've seen, but it does a pretty good job most of the time. So some of those payees are cleaned up for you, but yeah, don't do any of that nonsense where you're leaving all this gobbledygook from the bank. If you go in and you actually change it, YNAB actually sets up some rules automatically. So like if this word is in the payee, change it to this one, right? And it'll just get cleaner as you go. But you can also go into the manage payee settings and set up those rules yourself. And that's where it's really fun.
That's where it's super fun, especially with the big box stores. You know, you go to Costco, one time you buy groceries, the next time you're buying a mattress, the next time you're buying a sauna, something for the car. The YNAB, it brings in that previously used category, and it can be frustrating to always have to change it.
Yeah.
But what the feature I use is I deselect automatically categorize payee.
Yes, everybody should do that. So everybody should go on the web app right now. If you have access to a computer, go to manage payees, go to Amazon. Okay. I see you. You all got Amazon transactions, and just click that little button that says automatically categorize payee. Click that off. And that way, anytime Amazon comes in, it'll just have a no category. So it signals to you, hey, I need to look at this. Because every single time, any big box stores like this, every single time you make a purchase, it's going to be a different category. It's going to be 5 different categories. And you don't want it to like slip through the cracks of like, oh, this went to this category and that's not right.
And it wasn't a problem when it was a 1-for-1 trade, trading groceries for gas. That didn't matter. But I think where it was annoying was when I had like a split, and the split went 8 deep. Because now when there's only 2 splits, I have to delete the previous 6. I don't know. So I'm just like,
oh yeah, that's annoying. I always think like we should like, I know anything we change will ruin somebody's life. Will ruin somebody's workflow. But I almost wish it was
workflow.
I know, right? I always wish it was just like splits, like just weren't like YNAB just didn't remember it, and it like you never did, because otherwise you have to like delete all these splits and it's obnoxious. But but I know if we changed that, it would ruin somebody else's life. So,
totally.
And you can tell me in the comments, it would ruin your life.
Quick story about the clean payees. I just noticed it this morning. So I had a payee come in clean and classy car wash.
Okay.
And like the and was an N. And it got it right. Like import came in exactly as the way I wanted it set up.
That's wild. Yeah.
So
that's like one of the few AI features we got going on in YNAB is cleaning up those payees. And I have seen on Reddit a few times where it was like so wrong. And Jacob, who was the PM, was absolutely horrified and went and fixed it immediately. But it was very funny. You maybe look it up. I can't say it on YouTube because it was inappropriate, but it was very funny.
We got a clean podcast here. There are kids listening. We want to keep it that way.
There was a swear word in the bait. Let's leave it at that. It was very funny. But it works pretty well.
Folks, I got 3 of my favorites left before we get to Ben's.
Okay,
so my next
we need to lightning round this. We're going a little too detailed. All right.
Pending transactions. Now, this is really niche because it's for the folks who use direct import, and then it's for the folks who use direct import and their banks utilize this feature. So it's very, very limited. But if that's you and you're not utilizing pending transactions, when they import, if you're just letting them sit at the top, start entering them in, because it's like an alternative to entering yourself because they come in so quickly. I mean, my Costco card from Citi, I love this. I don't know what it is, but I get updates like every 6 hours from the bank.
That's awesome.
And there
some
are
banks
times
are like that. Other banks aren't. Yeah.
There are times, seriously, within like 5 minutes, I've had it even within a couple minutes where I will spend at a store and it's in YNAB immediately.
That's awesome.
Pending transactions are really, really nice to getting that stuff in there sooner. Because again, what we're talking about is getting the most out of YNAB. So as soon as I get my transactions in YNAB, I have a better idea of where I'm at in my plan. And pending transactions help me with that.
Yeah, I went to a restaurant for breakfast this morning and I didn't enter it. But it's there in pending transactions. So I'm going to highlight it and click E. and it's entered now, and there you go. It's pretty cool. It just goes right in.
Did you do a tip?
No. It was the fast food. So
It's fast food.
Yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say not to call you out, not to put you on the spot or anything, but
I went to fast food this morning. It's really embarrassing.
did you tip? How much did you tip? Man?
Oh, right. Yeah.
No, but my workflow used to be to edit that pending transaction and to include the tip.
Okay.
And I just stopped doing that. I'm just
Really? Okay.
Well, I kind of have an idea already of what the tip was.
Come in later though? Like, do you have a problem with it?
I match them up.
Oh, you just match them.
And it's
yourself.
like, it's fun
I guess it's not
that
that big a deal. Yeah, then you get an extra fun little thing you can do.
It's fun that I look
matching.
forward to. I mean, honestly, I'm like, okay, Monday morning when this comes through, I get to match it up.
Okay, I can get behind that. Yeah, I kind of see what you mean. Yeah, that's cool. Okay, yeah. So it's just an even faster way to enter things yourself. I think is the way to do it, because those pending transactions, they're in their own little section in YNAB. They don't affect your plan. They don't affect your categories at all because they could change. So YNAB doesn't want to like put them in too early. But if you know it's not going to change, just highlight them, push enter now, or click E on your keyboard. It'll enter them in, and you don't have to like type it in. It's pretty cool.
All right, my other one, YNAB Checkup. Mm-hmm. So this is where you are comparing the cash in your YNAB accounts to the cash in your YNAB categories. Right. And the goal is that those two amounts match. Yeah. And this is something that I did all the time at the beginning of my YNAB journey, because, YNAB was a different system for me. I was not used to only working with the money that I have. I was forecasting. So my previous spreadsheet budgets had all of this monopoly money in it, like paychecks, money that I knew was eventually going to be in my bank account.
Oh, yeah.
But with YNAB, I was just working with real money. And, many of you know what I'm talking about here. When you start YNABing, you start saving more. And you start looking at those category balances, you're like, whoa, that's more than I was expecting.
Right. And you're like not sure you can trust that number. Yeah.
Right. You're not sure. You're like, is this for real? Like, do I really have this much money?
I hear people say, like, did we forget to pay a bill? Like, what's going on? Why do we have all this money all of a sudden? Yeah. Totally.
So I was constantly double checking, does the money in my categories match the money in my accounts? And when I ran that calculation and I saw that it did match, I was like, oh, okay, I can trust these numbers now. I can spend what the category says, or I can move money around however I want. And so, especially for new YNABers, I recommend this a lot in the workshops that I teach. But also, I've been using YNAB 13 years, and I still, every so often, will run this just for peace of mind.
I might want to run this for fun. Yeah, so when we say run it, there's a step-by-step process. There's a help doc that the support team has put together. So just search up YNAB Checkup, and you'll see one that's called How to Perform a YNAB Checkup, and it'll walk you through it. It's always going to work because computers are really good at math. Like, that's the thing. Unless there's like some really crazy bug going on. I don't think I've ever seen that happen, but assuming everything's working as it should, it'll match up, and it just gives you reassurance. But there's a lot of things to consider, like, oh, how much do you have ready to assign, or like, are you the furthest month ahead that you can be, like things like that you just need to make sure you're doing it right, and then you'll see it matches up, and don't even worry about it, right?
I wonder if this is one of those things like Cost to Be Me, where all YNABers are doing this. We're kind of going through these weird workflows, and then eventually we just have a feature that it just tells us right there. We don't have to run any calculations. YNAB knows.
I think so many new features in YNAB are like that, where we see in the community people are doing this already, and that's what this was too. We saw people were doing this, and people would write in and be like, I just don't know if I can trust these numbers. And so we needed a process people could go through to just prove to themselves, hey, all the cash in your plan matches up perfectly with the cash in your accounts, and you're good to go. All right, loan planner. That's your next one.
Okay, voice is getting dry, running out of breath here. Loan planner. So you can set up, this is for non-credit card debts. Your mortgage loan, your student loan, your car loan. You can set them up as a loan account in the web app. And then you can open up the loan planner. Is that what we're still calling it?
Yeah, I think so.
Is it the loan planner? Yeah. I think it's had a couple different names, but loan planner. And I love it because it can show you right away, here's how much time you have remaining, and here's how much interest you have left to pay. And then you can start experimenting with things you can do to pay off that loan faster. You can change the monthly amount you're sending. You can change the time frame. What if I tried to pay off this loan a year earlier? What would I have to do? You can account for windfalls. If I put this $1,000 bonus towards my auto loan, how much interest, how much time is that going to save me? So I love that. Mm-hmm. And what I really, really love is the edit interest option. I don't know if everyone knows about this, because right now that loan planner is just making calculations based on monthly interest. Mm-hmm. So if you have like a loan you pay bi-weekly, every other week, it's not going to calculate it right. And even with the monthly, sometimes YNAB guesses that interest incorrectly.
There's a number of ways that banks calculate interest, and we go with the most common one, but sometimes your bank might be doing it in a weird way. So sometimes the interest might not be exactly right.
Yeah, for some reason, Honda Finance is doing it in a weird way because it's always off.
Right.
And so that balance that I have remaining is never right after that next payment is made. But doesn't matter because then I just go into edit interest. I change it to what it actually is, and it allows me to still utilize that tool. I got an updated, accurate balance. I like it.
I love that. Yeah. I looked it up. We do have an episode about this called How to Save Time and Money with YNAB's Loan Planner. It's a little old. It's 3 years old, so the quality is not going to be as high. We're not going to have these fancy mics, but I think it's pretty much going to go over it for you if you want to dig in on that.
Ben, we were wrong. It's the Payoff Simulator.
Oh, the Payoff Simulator. Yes, that's what we're calling it.
Payoff Simulators. Shoot.
Yeah. I think that's a better name because it's like a simulator. It's
that's what you're doing.
And you know what? I think it's the prettiest graph in YNAB. I'm going to go out there on a limb and say this is probably the most pretty graph. Like it just shows like the line. It's a nice little line graph. I think it's very beautiful. So if you enjoy beautiful graphs, go ahead and add one of your loans if you have one. Or just even not make up a fake loan and play with it.
Yeah, you can look at your past balance, your original payment schedule, and your current track schedule.
Yeah. All sorts of cool stuff there.
Awesome.
All right.
Okay, Ben, I'm done. I'm gonna turn this over to you. You got the rest of the show. What are your favorites?
All right, we're an hour in, but I think it's fine. I'll be quick. Okay. All right. First, keyboard shortcuts on the web app. The best, okay? You don't want to be reaching over to your mouse and moving things and clicking things, okay? Use keyboard shortcuts. I'm going to go over, okay, there's a help doc that goes over it. I think actually, if you're on Mac or Windows, if you're in the web app, if you hit the question mark key, okay? So like shift question mark key, right? It will show you all of the keyboard shortcuts. Look at them, internalize them, make them a thing because it's going to make everything so much faster. Here, I'll give you a couple of my favorites. Shift click, okay? Ernie, you didn't know about this, remember?
I was going to say, what you're telling people is don't be like Ernie in the Messy Budget Live.
I just can't believe that you've been like clicking things one at a time, like, oh my gosh, it's the end of the world. I was just like, oh, Ernie, no. Yeah, okay, so shift. Okay, so if you click on the transaction in YNAB and you can hold down shift and you can click another transaction and all the transactions between those two will be selected. Okay. I just changed some of y'all's life. All right. It's a big deal.
You changed mine.
Too many people don't know about this. You can also click one and hold shift and do the down key. If you have a down key on your keyboard, is down. I'm doing it as if you guys can see what I'm doing, but I'm clicking, right? So that's one thing. Okay. There's also, you can just click the A button to approve. Okay, so do that shift click thing. So like, let's say you import transactions, you see they all have little link icons next to them because you're doing what Ernie said, you're entering pending transactions and entering transactions yourself. You can select all those, hit A, done. It just approves them all. All you gotta do is hit the A button. It's so great. Or sometimes I filter by unapproved transactions and they're all linked, or like I just scan them and I say, oh yeah, that one's right, that one's right, that one's right. Or like maybe I'll like fix a couple and then there's like 10 more that are all linked or all right. I'll say Command A, or Control A, and it's just Control A selects them all, A approves them all, and it's just like boom, 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 it's done. It's just like so elegant. Anyways, I won't bore you guys with any more, but there's tons of keyboard shortcuts, and if that is something you like, go to the web app, hit Shift ? Look at that list, internalize it, make it a thing. All right.
I gotta up this game for me. This would be a huge benefit.
It's just the way to live, man. And you can do this. And most software has this. Everybody should know about things. All right. Checking old uncleared transactions. Okay, so this is a problem. I didn't know that this was a thing until I talked to a support person about this. I think it was Ashley. So shout out to Ashley for this. She explained to me that this is a problem a lot of people have, where let's say you enter let's talk about tips again. You enter a transaction with a tip, but you don't enter the tip, right? And it's an uncleared transaction just sitting there. And then the cleared transaction with the tip comes in and you approve it. And then the uncleared transaction is just sitting there and you don't notice it. And then you add more transactions and it just drops off the screen and it's just gone. It's just like, there's a pending transaction that's just out there. Okay. Everybody, like, I don't care if you are like me and you enter transactions yourself, everything, you're like super dialed in. Everybody should go into YNAB right now and filter by uncleared transactions. There's actually a new filter on mobile right at the top. It says this amount of uncleared transactions. That's why we added that, because we realized that people are missing them. Or if you just go in and search uncleared, that word, it'll bring up all your uncleared. I spelled it wrong. I don't know why. Again, you guys aren't seeing what I'm doing. But if you search uncleared, it'll bring up all your uncleared transaction in whatever account you're in. And this is like finding money in your pocket of your jeans. There might be some old transactions that don't exist that are sitting in your account. And if you just go ahead and go through and delete them because you don't need them anymore, you're going to have money coming back into your plan and you can use it. So yeah, everybody should go do this. I just wanted to mention it because it is a problem.
Or if you're like, I can never get my accounts to reconcile, it might be from an uncleared transaction months ago.
It could be, yeah. So this is just something you might need to check up on. Another thing I do, and I'll just skip ahead on my list here, is I sort by uncleared transactions. So I've talked about this before. The way all my registers are in YNAB, all my accounts, I sort by the date, and then I sort by the cleared status. Okay, the little C button there. This is on the web app. Okay, you can't really sort on mobile because of reasons, but on web you can sort. And what it does is it puts the uncleared transactions at the top, then it puts the cleared transactions, and then it shows you your reconciled transactions, and it just puts it right up there. So it's perfect because the uncleared stuff is the stuff you need to pay attention to the most. The cleared stuff is stuff that you're about to reconcile, right? And the reconcile is just like, that's gone and done.
Final and true.
Yeah. So if you sort by the cleared status, I think it really helps to visualize things. So just a little tip for you. There you go.
That's a good one.
All right. Geo Payees on iOS and Android. Yes.
I got a lot to say here.
Wait, you don't like them?
No.
Okay.
You just go. I'll fill in with what I want to say.
Okay. You can talk, Ernie. This is your podcast too.
No, this is your thing, so I want you to introduce
you're so
it.
Sweet. Oh, you're nice. Okay. I don't worry about time on podcasts because nobody complains about the time, because that's not how people listen to podcasts. You might listen for a little bit and then you go and do something and then you come back, right? So you don't care how long it is. I'm going to talk as much as I want. So, and if you do, well, sorry. It's a long
don't
podcast.
worry, folks. I do have an internal clock, so I'll make sure we stay on track.
Yeah, that's Ernie's role in our life. All right, Geo Payees. So if you have location services turned on for YNAB in Android or iOS, you can tag a location with a certain payee. So it's really, really powerful because you're sitting there at the gas station, you hit add transaction, because that location is associated with that payee, it will just it'll just put it right in there. Boop, gas station right there. And then, and because the payee is associated with a category, because you're a good manager of your payees, right? It'll fill that in. So all you have to put in is the amount and be done. And so it makes entering transactions so much faster. But there's a thing that I don't think a lot of people know about. And I'm going to pull out my phone right now. Oh, I can't pull out my phone because I'm using it as my camera. All right, Ernie. Oh no, this is a problem. Okay, so let me see if I can visualize. Ernie, you go.
I'll open my phone.
Okay, so here's the deal. You can manage this, and it's very hidden in the software. This is probably the nerdiest thing you will ever hear on Budget Nerds because it's buried. This is not easy to get to. Okay, so if you open up a transaction, okay, you can and you have a payee associated with it. A payee will show up there, right? Do you see that, Ernie? Okay.
Yep.
And Ernie will show a screenshot or something. And you click on the payee, and what it'll show is all of the payees that are associated with that location. Okay. But Ernie, you're sitting here at home right now, aren't you? And you probably have a bunch of payees that are associated with your house that have nothing to do with your house, right?
Oh my goodness.
Annoying.
I have so many.
So if you just swipe, okay, and I know this works on iOS. I don't know if it works on Android because I feel like swiping is weird on Android. I don't know if it's the thing, but I think there's another way. I think you can hit edit or something like that. Anyways, it's on there. You just try it. You can delete the payee, so it's no longer associated with that location. Okay, so if this is a thing that annoys you, if you happen to be at a location and the wrong payee is coming up because at some point you entered a payee at that location, just tap into it, hit edit, and you can delete those payees so they're no longer associated with that location.
Yeah, I'm on iOS and I'm swiping right to forget the location.
Yeah.
And then there is also an edit button.
Okay.
And then I can just start going down and tapping and mass deleting them.
Yeah, so do that. Now, the way to fix this too is whenever you're in a location and there's a new payee associated with that location, the first time it comes up, there'll be a little globe icon next to the payee. Okay, and if you tap that globe icon, it goes away. So that tells YNAB, I don't want to associate this location with that payee. Okay, but if you don't tap that globe icon forever and always, that location is going to be associated with that payee. So you can do some maintenance on this if you want to get really, 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 really nerdy, and it's very satisfying. So this is like kind of a quirk in the software, but you can do some maintenance. Okay, so just want you to know that. All right, Ernie, you got more to say about this?
Yeah, I just want to talk to all the budget nerds that have a partner that is doing this YNABing with them. And maybe their partner doesn't care about the maintenance of these payees as much.
Just a theoretical partner, right? no particular partner.
Now, yeah, I'm not trying to trash Christy by calling her out here, but my goodness, these 20 plus transactions that are within 22 feet of this location are 100% hers.
Sure, because she's not going to tap the globe icon.
No, she's not going to tap it.
She's got better things to do with her life. She's not like us, Ernie. She's actually a well-rounded, normal person.
That's the thing. Good for her for actually living a life.
It's true.
So, yeah, but there are times where I'm like, oh my goodness, why is, QVC or Great Harvest or Shutterfly coming up all the time when I'm trying to enter the spending from home? Now I have a way of cleaning up and maintaining that list.
It's very beautiful. Yeah. So now you have another thing you can do in YNAB that's fun. So there you go. Okay. All right. That's locations, and they're very useful. Recent moves. So anytime you move money between categories or you assign money to a category, YNAB keeps a record of this. And I don't think a lot of people know about this. I think the nerdy people among us will know. In the web app at the top, you'll see a little button that says recent moves on mobile. It's behind that main menu that you do on the plan tab, right? If you click on that, you can see a whole list of like ready to assign to Ben spending. I'm looking at car taxes was using the auto assign was moved. Money was moved to the ready to assign option. Like there's just all these. Anything you do, there's like a record of it. And I don't think it's forever. I think it's like 30 days or something like that, or maybe 90 days. I don't remember.
I think, in the individual category, I think you can go back.
That's right.
up to 90 days.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the recent moves at the top, it is just 30.
Yeah, this is really useful because if you're ever like, why is there so little money here? You can look and actually see, oh, it's because I moved it, or my partner moved it, or maybe there's too much. Like, if there's ever like a problem, So we didn't always have this. This is I think of it as fairly new. I think it's been a while, but it's just nice to have a record of all the movements.
Very nice. I love that feature.
Yeah, it's nice. All right. Seeing totals of selected categories in the sidebar. Why did I even include this one? I don't know. I think this is just like the transactions. If you select categories, there's a little summary.
Got it.
Yeah. So if you're on the web app, selecting any number of categories, you'll get a summary of how much is available in there, how much have you assigned in there, what's the activity, like what's your spending. I just think it's really nice. It's just another quick way to get a little mini report, right?
Yep.
All right. Let's talk about overfunded. Okay. There's a focused view called overfunded. So if you have any overfunded categories, you'll see it. If you don't have any overfunded categories, you won't see it. So don't freak out if you don't see it just because you don't have any. Okay. And what's really nice about that is it brings up all the categories that have more money in it than you said you wanted to based on your target. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So I have a workflow every month where at the beginning of the month, because I assign money into the next month, sometimes I assign too much money into some targets because it's based on my spending. So like I have a target where it's like a top up target where, I assign the full amount. And then when the new month starts, I know how much I spent before, and I just want to remove whatever rolled over from the previous month out of that target. Yep. This is a quick way to do it. Hit overfunded. You can see all of them. And then in auto assign, there's it's called reduce overfunding. It's one of the options there. And you can click on that and you can move that money up to ready to assign. I think it's super powerful because especially if you have a lot of those top up targets, that's what I call them, where it's like, you only want to assign a certain amount and you want the rollover to be included, right? At the beginning of the month, especially if you're assigning money into next month directly, you're going to have a bunch of money that's overfunded. So go through, and I just think it's really fun for me because it's kind of like finding a little extra money. I go through and I'll find like a couple $100 doing it that way. I'll put that in my margin category. My wife and I will talk about where we're going to put that money. And I just think it's a really useful feature.
And I think this is a fear for a lot of YNABers to abandon their holding category. With the new month ahead kind of functionality that we're building actually into the app, I think people want to utilize that, but they're like, well, if I start assigning into next month, I'm going to put more in there than what I want or need.
Right.
But this... you kind of have to do introduce a new workflow, yes. But yeah, it solves it. Because at the beginning of the next month, you can make sure you pull those back.
And it's very nerdy and very satisfying. So yeah, try it. And it can be for other things too. Like, if you have a category like that no date category I said, where it's like you want to set aside eventually a certain amount in there. If you ever end up with more than you need, you can move it out of there. It'll show you that as overfunded. So there's a lot you can do with this. Try it out. There's a lot of things that are pretty cool about it. We talked about targets with no due date, so we'll move on from that. And I talked about sorting by cleared status. Yeah, so that's my whole list. We're already done. That went by a little faster than I thought.
Whew. Well, we're still 75 minutes in, but
that's okay.
We covered about 20 or so topics there.
We sure did.
Getting the most out of YNAB.
Yeah, and there's so many more that we didn't even talk about. So if you have a super nerdy little feature or a workflow or anything you do in YNAB that you think would be useful for other people on YouTube, put it in the comments below or let us know in email. You can always email us with anything at budgetnerds@ynab.com.
And before we close, we're going to hit you with a couple YNAB wins.
Let's do it.
All right. My win comes from Jesse. He says this. I wanted to share this somewhat uncomfortable YNAB win. I just finished taking advantage of Oregon's new paid leave program, spending about 12 weeks with our new baby. Good time. I returned to work at the beginning of April, despite informing payroll and my manager, obviously, that I was back. I woke up this morning to see my monthly paycheck deposited in the amount of, wait for it, $18.20.
Oh no, that's not right. I assume that's not right.
Yeah, that is yeah, right.
They're like, and that was a huge raise for me.
A year ago, this would have sent me into an overwhelming anxiety and crusade against payroll. While obviously we need to get this addressed as quickly as possible, I'll be able to wham with a sledgehammer, of course, and pay my mortgage and daycare bill just fine.
Nice.
I've never really had cash laying around before. Despite these unfortunate circumstances, it's the first clear sign that YNAB has changed our financial outlook for the better.
Wow.
So, yeah, this emergency didn't also become a financial emergency.
I love that. Yeah, I've heard this a lot. Payroll problems.
So much.
For most people, it's like, oh, the end of the world. But for you, it's not a big deal. You know, I mean, it's a bummer, but it's not a big deal.
Right. And hopefully that all got worked out, Jesse. I'm sure it did.
Yeah. I hope, let us know if you had any more details there. All right. I have one from Christine. Christine wrote in on our Mega Wins #2 episode. That was a while back. Just an all YNAB Wins episode. Really fun. So if you want to listen to that, you should check it out. But Christine said, love you guys. Oh, thanks, Christine. YNAB Win, being able to pay for a hip replacement and also supplement my income during my time off. I have always had my finances separate from my husband. 5 years ago, I needed an MRI, which cost $100, which I couldn't afford and needed my husband to help me out. Now I was able to cover this huge expense on my own because of YNAB, and I am not stressed over money. Thank you all. Oh, what a great comment.
Nice.
Love that. Yeah. You know, it's good to reflect on that. Like these are similar ones where it's like, there was a time when this would have wrecked me, but now because I'm more organized and I got cash lying around because I've been YNABing, I can handle these things. And you just like reflect on those things, I think, because it gives you resilience. You know, you're always going to be okay.
All right, folks, thanks for tuning in for another episode. If you want more content just like this, be sure to check out Hannah's most recent video, 10 YNAB features you may be overlooking. Pretty much brand new episode, and she covers them in a way that only Hannah can, so we'll link to that.
Nice.
Until next time, happy YNABing.
Happy YNABing.